All right, so I want to talk a little bit about functions. We'll go a little bit deeper. We talked about the type function. We've seen the print function. Here is the function reference page for the print function. It actually has more parameters than you might have thought because you can do things with it that you maybe didn't know you could do with it. There's only one required print function, or one required. All of the other parameters are optional. We'll talk about optional versus required parameters later. But right now, we're going to focus on just this first parameter, which is the object that you want to print. And we're just going to always print it to the console for now. But you can look into some of those others. You have the ability to print to a file, to print to different places, to handle the data differently. You can separate different objects. Notice that here's something interesting. Notice that it says objects with an S. You can print more than one thing at a time. Remember yesterday when I said, well, maybe you don't remember, I said that you could not do something like this. Right? Because that gives you an error because it doesn't know how to add. But if I wanted to print hello and the number 5 on the same line, if I separate them with a comma, then I can do that. Because what I've done is, what I'm saying here is print the string hello and also the number 5. I'm not saying print hello plus 5. Also notice there's no space here, but it inserts a space here. One of the optional arguments is what you want to use as a separator instead of the space if you print multiple objects. So I can do this, and you can print an almost infinite number of objects inside the same print function. And you can see here that it splices them together all on the same line. The advantage to doing this over using separate print functions, which you can also do, like this. Okay, if I use separate print functions, it's not as nice because it doesn't print them all on the same line. Okay, it prints them vertically. Yes? Yeah, so watch this. If I do a variable instead, right, like this, and I run that, then it's going to put the value of that variable in that sentence, which means I can programmatically change that. There are lots of ways to do that, to accomplish that same thing, but that's just one of them. Yes? Because I'm providing it a list of multiple objects. And so when you provide a list of things to Python, you're always going to separate them with commas. So if I take this out, you'll notice it already starts yelling at me about it because that's not, it's expecting something here. Now I could put plus signs here, but will that work? No, it's going to give me an error because I can't add a number to a string. And what's in that age container is a number. So right now I'm going to get into how I prefer to name variables. For the purpose of this class, I strongly recommend it. I won't necessarily take points off, but I will sort of make fun of you a little bit if you don't do this and then it causes you issues. So just be aware. The way I like to name variables is using camel case, starting with lowercase abbreviation that represents the type of data that I'm putting in that variable. That way, when I look at the name of that variable or I use str name later on in my program, I know, even though logically in this case, I should know probably that name is a string, unless I was named by Elon Musk, then it could be just random symbols. But my name here is a string. If I wanted to do an integer, okay, I would use int, lowercase below that, Boolean, okay. And for float, I get a little lazy and just usually use FL. I couldn't think of anything else. So this is the way I prefer to name variables. It has saved me a lot of work and a lot of trouble in debugging my programs over the years. This is not some kind of official Python endorsed standard. It is just what I do, and it saves me a lot of work. It forces me to be very deliberate and think about what I'm putting in each container, and automatically I know later on in my program, I know what's in that container. So I use these abbreviations for the data types for each variable when I create the variable, and I think it's helped me out quite a bit.